Hello, today we can compare these Morphe brushes, which I've not opened yet, with the Eigshow brushes, which I did a video on last week. And we're going to compare it with the Morphe brushes, which most people have written in reviews, have compared it with. I chose these Morphe brushes because they were all vegan. It is a brush set, so we're going to compare the brush sets with the relative brushes which sort of match. And these are double the price. These are £20 at the moment, so these ones which are about £10. And we're just going to compare the like-to-like versions. Like I said, I've chose this one because it is a vegan set and this is a vegan set. And we can compare just the odd one or two. Okay, so we're going to open this Morphe one up. So they're all sealed like this. Let me know what I've got in there. So we've got 10 brushes here. So we've got this silicone one, which we won't be comparing. We also have an angular brush, which we haven't got an angular one in this set, so we're not going to be comparing that one. So that's narrowed it down. So what we've got here, a large eye brush. What does it say? It just says a firm eyeshadow brush. There we are. So this is a large eyeshadow brush, and these is going to be the ones. There we are. A large eyeshadow brush. It feels very silky, and the Capacitor brush should be this one, or one of these two. Now I would have said it's a similar shape to this one, but this one's definitely a lot bigger. This is supposed to be a larger version of this brush. And I did make a little comment on it on my first video that actually it's longer, but it's not wider or thicker. So that was my comment. So I was expecting this one to be more like this one. So the best one to probably to compare it with is this one in terms of firmness. But as you can see, it's a different shape that way. And it's definitely not as many bristles, but the bristles feel very similar to this, but it's not as many bristles. But this one feels a bit more similar to this one, even though it's supposed to be a small one. And as you see, that's quite firm, and that's quite firm because it's shorter. If they made a large one of this similar to this, I think it would have been really, really good. These are a little bit smoother, a bit more fluffy, but the actual bristles themselves feel very similar. But yes, I was expecting the extra one to be this sort of shape. It's not. It's long and narrow, and it's wide, just as wide as this small one. So I was expecting it to be a bit more like this one. So, and as you can see, they do a smaller one in Eigshow of this. There we are. So that's what I think this is actually better in terms of this. It's big, it's very full, nothing's coming out of it, it's very neat, but this is still very nice as a brush. Okay, and then I've got this is a pointer brush. I mean, in the original set, this is actually a lot fuller than this one. In the big set, our brush is a lot stiffer. So it would have been, but again, the larger version of it is the same shape as that. So that's what I think they need to make a larger version, thicker and the same shape all around, instead of make it longer. Because that's what they've done, is made it longer or thicker. Okay, so we now got this little precision brush. There we are. And that's comparison would be this one, I believe. And again, the Morphe brush is a lot bigger, but I would say that the bristles were rougher than these. They are slightly rougher than these ones. but they're very similar shape. I prefer the handles of the Eigshow because they are thicker. These feel a lot lighter, these feel a little bit heavier, these feel a lot lighter, and I think I like the finish better of these. That's my own personal preference. I like the thickness. I don't think these feel, the actual handles don't feel as good as the handles of these. That's my own opinion. Some people like skinny handles. So that's that one. Okay, so I've got a couple blenders, it looks like. As you see, we've got a couple of blenders here. This was another thing I had issues with, was the blenders. The blenders here that are very, very big. So it's the opposite to the Morphe. So the other eye brushes, the Morphes are bigger. The Morphes are smaller in this one. But let's have a look. So obviously this is the little blender. They're very similar in shape. And they do feel very similar. This looks rougher than this one. They do feel very similar. This is more spread out, sprayed. This is much more closer. And then I think, and this is when it started. This, I don't know what to do with this big one. It's probably going to be a blender brush. It's huge. It's a huge brush. I'll probably use it for highlighting. So we'll compare these two. So they've got a large one and a small one. There's not a difference between a large one and a small one. And there's not a lot of difference between the Morphe ones. The Morphe ones are slightly smaller. I would say these are more sort of curved in shape. This one tends to be a bit more pointy. This one's a bit more flatter. I think shape-wise, these are not as even as these, but these are more sprayed and these are not. I think, if I read the back of it, it says deluxe blender and a pointed blender. So they are supposed to be different brushes, looking at these, but they look virtually identical. But I think these are quite good comparison. These are a lot tighter than these, are spread out, but the actual bristles are the same. I would say these are cut neater. This, as you can see, is a little bit lopsided here, and this one ends up in the V. Perhaps they are different brushes, but there's nothing really distinctive, because a lot of the brushes on the Morphe says blender. So there we are. And again, the Morphe brushes, I chose this set because these don't even have the what the brush is on them. They don't have what type of eye brush they are. So that's another reason why I chose this set to compare with. Okay, now, if you look at the blending brush, they've got a big huge one again, there we are. And you can look at the blending brush of these two, there we are. In these, that's the original set, and they do feel very similar. Even though this is a slightly rougher brush, a bit more tougher, it feels very similar. And the little one, I think that I prefer the little one of this one to the little one of this one and this one. But yeah, there we are, very similar. Okay, so now these, I'm going to guess, is quite the nearest we've got. And it is a different shape, so it might not be the best one to compare it with, but there we are. So, and I'm going to guess. And that's a smooth concealer. So is one of these supposed to be concealer? Yes, one of them is supposed to be an angled concealer brush. No, I'm not. There we are. I don't know which one's supposed to be the concealer. One's supposed to be an angled concealer brush out of the Morphe ones. And the concealer brush out of this one is this one. So we're going to guess that's going to be, you can see this is really smooth. So we're going to guess that's a Capacitor brush. There we are. But again, we have chosen two very similar. There, they feel very similar. It's quite hard when companies using different shapes to get to say that's a comparison. But there we are. That's the nearest I could get to compare it to the Morphe, because people tend to make a comment about the Morphe. They prefer it, or they prefer these, or they like both equally. It's very hard to get a set which to compare with. This is the compare with, and this is the nearest one I could get. So this is the eyebrow highlighter. It is very, very thin, it's very narrow. And this was the eyebrow brush. So as you can see, the highlight is very thin. This has been starched. I'm going to try and break it a little bit. Both very, very thin. This is, like I said, it's a full eyebrow one, is the highlighter. But I do feel very similar, which is good. If you compare it with the original set of the original thing, this is actually a lot fluffier. It needs to be probably starched or wet to make thinner. So this is actually quite thick in comparison. But in the eye set, that's really, really thin. So in all, the ones I can compare with, the actual bristles feel very similar. The actual sizes, I think, are, it depends on your eye shape. I would go with some of the Morphe to suit my eye shape, especially the smaller brushes, because I've then got a very big space between my eyebrows and eye socket and things, so these ones tend to be a little bit too big. But this is probably going to be too big for me, even though it feels really nice. This one will be too big for me, so I'll probably end up with that one for myself, because that's just my own personal preference. But this is quite stiff, it's got loads and loads of bristles, while the big version of this one I think is slightly the wrong shape and hasn't got as many bristles, but the little one's actually really good, and that's probably suits my eye socket better than this one, just because of my eye shape. These are very, very similar in shape. I prefer these ones are actually cut neater, but they're more fluffy. If you want a more fluffy brush, I'd go for this one. These are more tightly packed. Being more tightly packed is a little bit more coarse than this, but they still feel very nice. So these are very, very similar. Let's look at this. This one, these little pencil brushes. Alright, that's a blender, a little blender, precision blender. There we are. There we are. This one is very much more space. If I want to say, more defined, I'll probably go for this one. If it's just a little tiny bit needs to be blended, I might go for this one. So they'd have different uses, I think, even though they're supposed to be little blenders. But that one's a lot stiffer than this one, but that's a lot closer together. This one's more sprayed. The nice little packing on ones. I said it was very hard to compare because obviously totally different sizes, and also there's no labels of what they're supposed to be. Generally, they feel very similar to each other because of the bristles. I mean, that's a lot. It feels a little bit rougher than this one. It's definitely rougher than this one. This one's really smooth, but this is really stiff. This one, of this section, and this is, like I said in the other things, these got two different types of bristles in the big set. Well, this one's the actual eye set. There's only one type of bristle, so it is sort of mix and match. And so that's a sort of difference in first impressions. So some of them I prefer these brushes, some of them I prefer these. And that's to do with my own eye shape and how much space I've got. But in terms of bristles, the bristles feel very similar. It's only really this one here which feels a lot more fuller than these. and I prefer these handles. I think these handles actually feel a lot more expensive than these ones. These actually feel hollow to me, but I like a chunky handle. These are very skinny handles. But I hope you found it useful, and we will do a testing the brushes out with products later on, but you can see why I've chosen this set of Morphe brushes compare with these eye brushes from the Eigshow Jade, I still don't know how to pronounce it, range, because they are both vegan and they're the most I could find had quite similar shapes, and hopefully we'll produce something with one eye with these and one eye of this, and we can compare the two and how the product loads onto these brushes and these brushes of course. And we'll see you guys later. Bye. so this is the look I did with the brushes. There we are, look. Da, 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 da. So, overall rating. So the gold ones were the Morphe brushes, and so this was mainly the Morphe side. There was a couple of, I did it with the Eigshow just to like, because I haven't got one of them. So the brushes I haven't got in this, I did use the Eigshow, but look at that. So very impressed. So this is what I liked. And I like these as well, but I like them for different reasons. So I like the size of the bristles when I did the blending with the Morphe better, because I don't have a lot of space between my eye sockets and my eyebrows and things. I like the blending brush is better of this one, which I knew I was going to. This was, yeah, when you got something about this size, for someone like me, it's quite hard. But I did use it. I used it for an overall, the overall lilac colour over the eyelid, because I wasn't doing detail with it. So that was really good for that. And it did go on really nicely. Didn't need any effort. It was on. So that was good. Where was it? So the equivalent, little blending brushes were the equivalent. I like both. I used this one to cover the eye. I used a big one on this one to do the eye in a lilac colour. But overall, very similar. I think it's guessing on how chunky you like the handle, because the actual bristles were an even way apart. But yeah, I did like both, and both texture was quite similar. I did try the one in the main set as well, which is a bit rougher. You can see some of the stuff coming off. I think this held the powder a lot better than either the Morphe in the other set, this rougher set. I think it actually, being rougher, had a bit more friction and could hold the powder a little bit better. The precision brushes, this is when I liked it the opposite way around. The Morphe ones was bigger. I found it quite harder to use. Well, I've got a little tiny one on this one. So that's what I liked better. I like this one better than this one. So you can see I use this as well to put the dark liner in. I also use this for the dark liner as well. So I used two brushes for the dark liner this side. On this side, I did use two brushes, but they're different. I used a little eyeshadow brush to get into that crease, and this one just to blend it out. Well, I used a more precision brush and this bigger one. And so I actually preferred the Morphe on these ones because they're smaller. But I actually like the firmness on this one. This actually did help a lot, this firmness and the precision brush. It was smaller than the other precision brush, and this is from the main sets, this blue things. Well, this one, it's too big. It's too big to go in my crease and lay things down. So it is more of a patting on brush. It's just too thick in that for my eyes. For someone else's eyes, it would be good, but the actual bristles were good. So that was really good. This is when I couldn't work with this one. Could not work. It was just too big for my eye socket. So if I had to lay down flat, I had to use this. It was just, it's lovely. It's lovely. I just don't have big enough eye. So this is when this one came in useful. Lip brush. As you can see, I had to change my lipstick brand because my first lipstick choice, even though I chose similar colours in both, the lipstick was just too soft for this. You can see it's absolutely coated the lipstick brush because it was just too soft. So I had to go back in it. And because I only had this, I'd try and wipe it clean. It just didn't wipe clean because of how much was on it. So I had to give it a good wash. But I had to use a harder one. So I had to use my Crayola lipstick, which was a bit harder for it to work. But didn't do a bad job. Nose brush I used. I used the nose brush, so because I thought I'm going to have to use it. Most things, I mean, there's a couple of things I didn't use. So the nose brush I used. This I used for my eyebrows. I used it just to go underneath here and around the lips. Very thin. Really like this. This was really good. The concealer brush. This concealer brush, standard concealer brush. Couldn't fault it. Very good. This, because of the type of foundation I use, is pretty much useless. But I managed to get it to work. So you probably saw me, I put the foundation on, then put the contour on, and then put this back over the top, and then I used powder contour after I powdered my foundation to get it to work. So it took a lot longer time for me to get this to work, just because of the foundation, but the actual brush is really nice. It's quite heavy. It's quite a heavy brush. It feels quite stiff, the bristles. I had to pat it. If I stroked it, it was just going to take off my type of foundation, but other foundations it will work a lot better with. The powder brush, extremely big, holds powder. It went everywhere, my powder. It's still got powder in it. So only use a little bit of powder with this, but it did do my whole face. It was faultless, soft. It is big. I have worked this out. These Eigshow, their stuff is on the big side. So then we had this. You know, this one I couldn't work. I used it for highlighting and these bits of the cheekbone. Worked brilliant for that. There was no way I was going to use. I would have used this one for the eyes. I was going to use another one for the eyes. So I thought I'm going to use it as a highlighter. It worked really well as a highlighter. Even though I prefer fan brushes, this worked really well. This I use as the blusher brush. Just a powder. It's a contour brush. So I think I used this as the blusher brush. And just place it on. And then I brushed it out with the more contour. Because they don't label these, and I didn't want to keep going back and forth. And so I just literally put it on this and then brushed it with this. It didn't do such a bad job. This, when you put it on, you just go dot that, holds a lot of powder. So it went on quite strongly, which is good for photography. Not so good for a day look, but that was just, yeah, probably the product I used. But I did only use the end, as you can see. I didn't get it down here. And this was quite clean because I used just the one to describe with. But that was cool. That was really cool. Then I used this as my sort of contour brush. So I did down there. It worked. It's good. As you can see, I used this and I used a little highlighter. And this one to contour my face, and obviously I used the nose one for the nose. So I used quite a lot. I wanted something which was in between these and these, really, for my face. And I mean, even that was a bit big, but that's just me. So yeah, so I've used every. Oh, and this was cool. This was really cool. Could have done a bit more pointier, but it was good. So in the whole, very similar to the Morphe with the actual brushes. It's just a size thing. So some things I like the Morphe better because the ones which are like this was a lot smaller than this one, which will suit my eyes. But on someone who's got more open eyes, they probably would like the bigger brushes. But the actual feel of the brushes are good. And I prefer the chunky handles, I know what I'm holding. When I do precision work, little tiny work, I like the little handles. So I like the mixture of both handles. I like, if I'm doing something which is all over the eye, the big handle. It's something which is a little delicate, I like the little handle. I think it's because it feels small, you think, I'm going to go small. So yes, I am very happy. I am very happy. I mean, like I said, this is much more heavier look than the average day look. I've just put a little bit of mascara on. I'm going to go put some funky eyelashes on by Yeah, Eldora. And I'm going to put some bling on as well, and I'm going to do some pretty toys, but this is my look. And I said, oh, I did use this as a highlighter under the brow. I think it's too skinny, but that's just my preference. It depends on how you do it, but it did work really nicely. I just thought it was a bit too skinny. But that's my preference when I haven't got the equivalent in here, because all I've got is big eyebrow brushes, and they had a lot of difference, and I use this just to brush in my hair. So yeah, I hope you like it, and I'm gonna go and take some pictures, and yeah, that's my look, and there's my little review. Please follow me if you like my review or want to see any makeup looks or body paint looks or special effects looks, because I do body paint special effects videos and anything else, not just review videos. So please go to my channel, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.